Yeah, so in previous chapter, we have seen that invoicing system was failed, and Bill and his team was trying to very much hard to bring back the system up. And after that, Bill took some break to spend, quality time with his family. And during this time, Bill got call from Steve, and both of was discussing the current ongoing issues. And during this discussion, Steve came to know that Bill is not at office and he's with his family, and he was just frustrated with that, and he thought that he is not taking responsibilities. And some heated argument happened between Steve and Bill. And during that argument, finally Bill decided to quit the job, and Bill told to the Steve uh, regarding his resignation. So this was the last chapter we have seen, chapter number 16. So coming to the chapter number 17, it's today it's like 4 days where Bill quit the company, and he's feeling like very much not happy, but he's like he thought that it's like a hidden weight has been lifted from his shoulder. So it's kind of feeling like there was no too many calls, too many meetings, too many emails and all. And during this time, Bill thought to take his son Grant uh, to some picnic place. And they decided Bill decided to took him uh, to have some outing with his son. So he informed to Peggy for preparing his son, and to make ready his son to go outing. And during this outing, they started around 8 a.m., and uh, they just heading towards the train station. And they just started their journey with Bill started this journey with Grant. And during this journey, they took some beautiful pictures and all stuff, and they were just enjoying. But during this time, Bill was getting continuous his phone was continuously ringing, and it was from Wes. And he was not happy to receive the call. But after ringing many times, he decided to pick up the call. And Bill, just as soon as Bill pick up the call, he uh, this Patty was there. Patty and Wes was there during this call. And she said, just it's frustration mode. He's just said that we hear that you have decided to resign the company. And she also got this news from other colleagues. So both of our this Patty and Wes were there during this conversation with the Bill on call. So both were shocked, and they thought that they think that this was the not the right decision which Bill has taken. So uh, he thought that they thought that uh, it's because of the failure of the system. And but it was not like that. And Bill said that, looks guys, it's not like that. Bill has some heated argument between Steve and Bill. So that's the reason he decided to quit the company. But Wes again jumped into the call, and he said that we are not sure that what happened. And but currently, inventory management system is also down, and everyone is riding from here and there. And that inventory guys are just struggling to IT guys are just struggling to make the system up. And all finance guys are thinking that they might be jump from the window if something will not happen. And all systems are down, and because of that, no financial data, no no costing will happen, no gross profit, no net margin will get calculated, because it's a quarter end time. And Steve heard this news, and he thought that, oh shit, this is incredible that this system is still not yet up. So they were just discussing this. And Bill's son just Grant just grabbing his attention. He was just pulling his dad from the phone. So Bill was also not happy to discuss with the call, during the call. So Petty was saying that how can you do this, Bill, that you just left us during this hard situation. So they thought that we have decided to fix all these issues, and we need to move ahead with this fixes and all. But Bill was not ready to convince, and he was very much frustrated. So he thought that no, I need to go, and I'm middle with I'm in middle with someone, and just I need to go, so I need to drop a call. So Bill drop off this call with the Wes and Patty, and they just finished their outing. I mean, Bill finished their outing with the Grant, and they just heading towards their home. So during this driving, when Bill was driving and Grant was just sleeping in beside him. So during this time also, Bill was getting a continuous call from Steve, and but Bill didn't pick up the call. And as soon as they both of reach at home, Bill wife was saying that this bastard Steve is calling me since morning, and I was just hang up on him. And but Steve has given some long story and about this what going on and what needs to be done. So Patty was convincing this Peggy was convincing to Bill that I suggest you should have called with Steve. So she was just trying to explain him that Bill, just look, we need this job because we need recently you got some promotion, and this is a very good company, and there is no any good company in this town and all. So she was just trying to convince the Bill regarding taking back his resignation. So after that, Bill decided to discuss with Steve, and Steve, as soon as he called to Steve, Steve apologized for whatever he did. And he thought that I mean, he was explaining that, yeah, of course I agree that you have taken this responsibility as a VP of IT operation, and that's because of on my request. And that was some very good discussion happened between Steve and Bill regarding they were Steve was just trying to convince him that what happened with his during his early career and all. And Steve was just listening, and he was just further he was not happy. I mean, he was not convinced, but Steve was looking again into the company. So he said he has given one proposal that okay, you just spend some 90 days, as we have seen in early days, early chapters, that Steve has given 90 days to IT team for up the system, or everything should be work smoothly. Otherwise, they are going to uh, outsource this IT complete IT operations. So this same thing Steve is trying to convince to the Bill regarding 90 days spending time with the company. And if he's still if he will not be happy with the company, then he can end up I mean, he can leave the company with 1 year severance package. So during this discussion, Bill remember the promise which he made with his wife, that we need to uh, again rejoining. I mean, Bill need to again rejoin this company because they are having some responsibilities and all. So 45 minutes later, Steve was again trying to convince to the Bill, and he was, I mean, both of us still on call. So that's end of the chapter 17. And might be most probably in the next chapter, Bill will decide to join the company once again. So that's it in chapter 7.
Okay, thanks, Mustak. Okay, do we need to brainstorm about this? Any discussion points here? Should I start with chapter 18?
No, I think that looks pretty clear, because even I've gone through the chapter which I've just got explained. So I think we are okay, rather than I'm okay, because it doesn't have much things to process, and they are just in a phase where they just want to move further, and couple of attrition happen. So everything in that regard. So that's okay.
You're on mute, Animesh.
I just wanted to acknowledge a new member today. I see a new
Yeah.
face,
Yeah.
Rakesh. So hello, Rakesh. You're
Hey
joining us
guys.
from US.
Very good morning,
Uh,
Rakesh.
Hi, good morning, guys. Yeah, thanks. I work in US. Yeah, I'm from India, but I work
So
in
it
US.
must be really brutal for you on a Sunday morning. You are waking up at what, 6 o'clock?
Depends how your Saturday evening was. Yeah,
But thank
it's
you for
six
joining
thirty
us.
around.
It's 6:30 there.
Right.
That means you
Yeah,
started at 6 o'clock. Okay.
yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks
Would you like to
for
introduce
adding it
yourself
to
to
the
the
group.
group?
Sorry.
Would you like to introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, absolutely. This is Rakesh Kanju. I and Prasad. We have worked long back. I'm working in IBM, and we were working in same team there. And I have past 6 7 8 years maybe I'm outside India working in various places like South Asian countries, Singapore and other, and then I recently moved a couple of years back, moved to US. My primary role is an architect. Okay, I worked on technologies. I've recently started working on cloud technologies like AWS, Azure and all. Okay, and yeah, that's about what I do for a living. Right. Yeah, but it's good. You guys, Prasad first introduced me to this group. I think I like the concept. I don't know how much I can contribute, or how if, there may be times, as I mentioned, depends on Saturday, when I may miss joining this, but I would always love to be part of this forum. And it's good, it's interesting. I feel like going back to home, right? And I was reading this book actually, the Phoenix Project, and this book actually gave me a glimpse of what we were doing some years back. And I was in the same environment. I felt like Bill. Okay, sometimes.
Fully agree with Rakesh.
It
We had
was
a
not.
firefighting days and weeks and months and night. We have spoiled many nights there.
Yeah, I read. I keep on reading books. Different topics. I'm not a great book reader, but I keep on reading some different books. And some of the books you relate to, whether it's your love story or it's your family story or it's a friend's story, right? But this book actually is the first book that introduced me to my official story. Okay, which only I knew so far. But it's this is fact. This is what happens. Okay, somebody has taken the guts to write it down. But this is what we all face. It's a story. It's our story. And what do we learn from it? I think that's what we have to do. So I think once we reach to a conclusion about various topics and all that, I think we need to also understand what are the learnings from this. What do we take back? Okay, how do we because we all have seen this, we have faced it, we have learned. If you look at the agile method also, we deliver and we learn, right? So here we know what we have delivered. So let's, I think, find out what do we learn, how do we improve these situations. And these can happen, these will happen. You join a different company, different project, you'll find the same situation, you'll find same dependency on people. How do we reduce it? I think that it's fantastic. Yeah, I'll be happy to contribute whatever I can.
Thanks for joining us, Rakesh, and thank you
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
You're welcome, Rakesh.
getting to know you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks guys.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I
so
think, yeah, I'll share my screen and start with chapter 18. Can you just confirm if my screen is visible?
Yeah.
Okay, chapter 18, sorry, I couldn't read through it. Like, I just got a chance to read it once because it was assigned to Shoaib and he's not available, unfortunately. So I had to just go through it quickly. And so I can just summarize my learning from this chapter. So just bear with me if I miss something from you. Okay, so chapter 18. So we are on chapter 18, that's Tuesday. And as Mustaq mentioned in the previous chapter, where Bill decided to quit, and then again, as he was persuaded back to join the company, he decided to join it back. So now he's going to office, his early morning meeting and offsite meeting with Steve, where he has scheduled a IT leadership meeting, offsite meeting after the failure of Phoenix project. So Bill is driving to office now, but he had his own plans to work with to go on adventure with his son, but he's going to miss that. So he's kind of disheartened, but still he continues and goes to office, where Chris, who is the development lead kind of stuff, who is handling the development team, Wes and Patty from the support. So these guys are already present, and as the usual stuff which happens in the meetings, we have coffee mugs, pastries, and all this stuff, and they are waiting for the meeting. And Bill enters in the meeting room, and he sees everyone is there, West, and because as these people already knew that Bill is leaving, so like they are surprised to see Bill coming back, and they greet him like, Bill, nice to see you, and I hope we don't quit again today. Like, the thing that he is kind of playing around is because he already submitted his resignation, decided to resign back, and he's coming back. So they like kind of pulling his leg here and then telling him, okay, we think that you don't resign today again. Uh, uh, Bill continues to the meeting, and he's happy to see the Vandal donuts. If we remember from the second or third chapter, we came across this donuts with like Bill, like, he has a craving for this donuts, and as he explained, he used to wait in queues to get this, and he's very happy to see this, and he starts loading his plate with this donuts, and soon he's getting his hand on the donuts. The Steve is here. See, Steve, the CEO of the company, he's behind Bill, and he tells Bill, okay, good to see you again, and glad that you are here to the meeting. And so there's one more person in the meeting, Eric. If you remember Eric, he's one of the board members of the company, and he's the guy who gave this serious lessons to Bill regarding the 4 factors in IT which happens, and he took him to the plant, where he gave him hint of how the work should be balanced, and how the work in progress, the term which we came across, WIP, that can be handled, and the unplanned work, so all that stuff. So Eric, the board member, he's also part of that meeting. And so in this meeting, basically, Steve, he kinds of starts with about the responsibility. He's like, he's feeling about that the guiltiness of that Phoenix disaster, and he takes the responsibility that he bears the responsibility of the Phoenix disaster, and he kind of agrees to it. Like, he didn't give the entire space to his his teams, like Bill and Chris, to work on their ideas, and he was behind this complete Phoenix project, and he wanted to deliver that project. But we saw in the previous chapters, Bill was against this, and he was trying to tell uh, Steve that he needs more time, and he cannot go live with the Phoenix project, and it will be disaster. And even Chris was not ready with the development work. So yeah, there's one term which like brought me attention, where Bill is telling that his uh, old guy who passed the responsibility of CEO to CIO to Steve. He said that the relationship between a CEO and CIO is as a dysfunctional marriage. Like, both sides feel powerless and held hostage by each other, kind of stuff. So the CEO, the chief executive officer, and the CIO, information officer, so both are into a dysfunctional marriage. So, and Steve also, from his learnings from the last month, he mentions that he have learned 2 things from last month. Like, one is that IT matters. IT is not just a department that he can delegate away, because he was planning to send it off, and he was planning to outsource all the IT work. But now he realizes, after the failure of Phoenix, and after all the chaos they have, that he has now learned that IT matters a lot, and IT is not just a department that he can delegate away. And IT is smack in the middle of every major company and effort, and it's very critical. uh, it's very critical, and it's like almost to every part of the operations. IT team is very critical. And also he confirms, he affirms that right now he knows that nothing is more important to the company's success than how this leadership team performs. The leadership is also very important for success of a project. That was first thing which first learning which he had in his previous encounters. Second thing is that his actions, like whatever he did, he turned down the Chris and Bill's request for more budget because he restricted the budget. Then Bill's request for more time to do the Phoenix project, and all the stuff which he declined earlier. So now he's started thinking that, okay, if he had given that no second chance, maybe things would have fallen into right place. But so that is the second lesson which Steve has from this from his previous encounter and from Phoenix failure. And he kind of tells Bill that he's very much in assurance that the person who he has wronged, like he misunderstood the most, was Bill. And Bill told him the right things, and he came up with all the correct ideas, but he never listened to Bill, and he always turned down his offer and his suggestion to make the Phoenix go live effective. So he also is kind of, he's in a agreement that he's taking the complete responsibility of the failure on him now. So that is what Steve is kind of facing right now. And also he is kind of trying to kind of put it together that trust, there's no trust between the teams because the teams are working separately, independently of each other, and there's no trust. So what he's thinking is, if the project needs to be successful, then the teams need to work in collaboration, and they should, and to team to work in collaboration, they need to have trust, and the trust is missing from this team. That's what he's trying to conclude. And here he mentions that a great team doesn't mean that they had the smartest people. What made those teams great is that everyone trusted one another. It can be a powerful thing when the magic dynamic exists. Like, so to have a trust on one another and the teams working together, that is the success factor of the project. So Steve continues, and he's telling about one of his favorite books which he came across about the team dynamics, is The Five Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. And the author, the Patrick Lencioni, he writes in the book that he writes that in order to have mutual trust, you need to be vulnerable. So I'm going so this one kind of is trying to bridge this gap between the teams, and so they should be knowing each other very well in order to work in a collaborative way. So now Steve has come up with an idea where he wants to share the personal life with each other. Like, he wants team to know each other also on a personal front, which will make an impact. And because if you read this definition, that in order to have mutual trust, you need to be vulnerable. Like, should not share away with what experiences you have in life, but then you should share that across. So that also accounts for the success of a project. So, and also he realizes that it may be uncomfortable for most of us to share their personal friend, because it's not that everyone has a very good personal friend. Maybe they have issues where they cannot share with other members, but he also understands that it may be uncomfortable for like not everyone to share that. But then he also wants this to happen so that no team realizes like the mutual trust and they can work in one direction. So here Steve tells about his struggle and how he used to work like in a rural Texas, where parents used to work in the cotton mill, and during summers his brothers and like when he was too young, they used to also work and in the cotton fields and they used to pick cotton. So he's trying to share his personal front, his struggle which he did in his childhood and all. So he covers that, and then to which Bill and other team who's standing there, they affirms that he's a very good storyteller, and because he's the way he has presented himself, that is very good. And now at the end of the chapter, so now so the chapter 18 ends where Steve gets into his personal front. He tells about his previous experiences and his old jobs where he was sales operations then he also joined the army and he served in various places before. Also he was at one place where people were not happy with him. Like here, it's already happening that people not happy with Steve working, and if there was to happen the asshole of the decade award, then one of his teammates no they tells Steve that okay, if there was any award which says asshole of the decade, then it should definitely go to Steve. So that how pathetic Steve was when he started working in IT and in his various other when the opportunities and organizations where he worked on. So it was not easy, never easy to work with Steve, but Steve came over all of that, and he's now working in this Parts Unlimited as the CEO of the company. And this ends on a note where Steve is gave a glance of his struggles and his previous life to his people on the team, and now they are listening and they're sitting in the room. So now Steve wants the other teams also to continue and share a bit of their own experiences. So here Bill Bill asks voluntarily if like someone is willing to go and share about their experiences. So like people, if you see even in our meetings where we are having these meetings, and it comes to introducing ourselves or like kind of uh, giving a background of a past or something like that, we always shy off and we don't voluntarily raise a hand. So same thing is happening here also, where people are not responding. Even Bill is not kind of ready, because he's a marine guy, and he's not like kind of into this uh, management stuff, and he's not ready for this introduction and all this stuff, but he's kind of shying off. But so Chris volunteers, and he shares about his past. Like he was born in Beirut as the youngest of three children, and before the age of 18, uh, he has lived in 8 different countries, and that's why he like knows kind of 4 different languages. And also he tells about his past, where he had no problems with in his personal life, where we're trying to have baby, and then when they had baby, then it was like there were a lot of complications, and he had to spend like around 3 months with his like in the hospital with wife and in the ICU. And so like so that was very emotional from Chris to share the most personal thing from his life. And everyone is kind of getting very emotional, got very emotional in the room, like Chris shared. So Chris tells about his past, like how he came over this, and how he's looking very very aspirant about his kid's future. That he had twin sons, and due to some complications, maybe they were not doing well. So Chris was very aspirant about their future, and which also makes Bill emotional, and he starts to the tears rolling his cheek, and he was also thinking, and he's kind of getting the gist, and he's getting kind of emotional understanding of how Chris, because when we are working as a team and we don't know each other and our personal backgrounds, so we kind of only have this professional relationship, and whenever so now when they know each other well, so Bill is also in agreement that okay, so even he was going through some bad rough patch in his life, and now Chris is also has gone through this. So now there's some emotional understanding between them. This is not highlighted in the book, but when I was reading this, I felt that okay, so maybe the author has put this because just to give a touch. So as employees, we should also, when we get to know about the personal lives and the uh, tough times we had, so we kind of relate to that, and there's an emotional connect which we have with that person. The next time when we talk to that person, we always have that respect, and we always have that in mind. Okay, this person is not just an IT employee and working in the company, he also has a lot of to do apart from this IT professional work. So I think that is why this vulnerability exercise was also put forth by Steve to have the team come like with each other, and have this bond where they can understand each other and they can work as a uh, team and into the success of a project. So Chris completes his whatever he had to cover, and then uh, Steve asked for the second nomination Bill is still not ready to share his views, and Wes, who is the support guy, he tells about his story, like how he was, crazy about driving, and how he also got divorced due to his, due to his hobby of, crazy driving. And also he has issues because he's around 250 pounds, and he has also had issues with his weight loss. So he shares about this, and then the third person to go is Patty. Patty, this way they learned that Patty is not like IT person. He's the she's art major, and she also, switched college and dropped off from college into some songwriting and some music band and all. And then she got back her MFA, and due to some financial crisis, then she applied to work at Parts Unlimited. And the job also was not easy because she had a case of civil disobedience, and but then she made to the job, and she was part of the Parts Unlimited. So now everyone done in the meeting, everyone was done with the introduction. So now the only thing left was Bill. So now Steve finally asks, like, we are only left with you, Bill. So can you, go ahead and maybe, tell, if you mind telling your own story or your own personal front, anything from your personal side. So as as we already know that Bill already worked in Marine. So like Bill is kind of person who has worked in Marine, and he was able to, create a persona where he could just, yell at people and tell them what to do and what not to do. And he already always got paid for, keeping his people safe, and because he was slightly smarter than them, and then he had good vocal cords, and he never shared his feelings with the work colleagues. He never did that. And this was the time when was very shy, and he never wanted to do this. But then he goes ahead and shares about his what story, like. Okay, so now Bill tells him like what influenced him the most in his life. So he was influenced like when he realized that his mom did everything for him for them when they were kids, and his dad was completely undependable, and he was alcoholic. And when things weren't going well, all his elder brothers and sisters, like, they hid from his dad, and then Bill was the one who ran away and left them behind. And at that time his youngest sister was like 8 years old. So Bill was like, he eloped, and because he was not happy with his father, and his mother used to like drive everything at home. And also Bill shares that best part was getting arrested was one of the best things happened to him. And when he was arrested, the alternative to him was to go home. But then he, instead of going home, he joined Marines, and which introduced to a different and like entirely new world to him. And he learned that there was totally a different way of living the life, and it taught him, that you could be rewarded by doing the right things and taking care of your fellow soldiers. So that's how Bill joined the Marines. He got arrested, and he had option to go home or to, maybe, I think maybe in the US they have this option. So if you are arrested, you need to serve for some time in maybe some marine or some army as some at some job. So Bill chose to join the Marines. And what did he learn was like the main goal now to Bill was to be a great father, not like his father who was alcoholic and not responsible at all. So Bill wanted to be a, uh, very good father to his sons, because his sons deserved. And when he was telling, he got emotional about this. And he's also angry that Steve is forcing him to reveal his personal friend, which he's not happy about. And he tells Steve, "Is that enough for you, Steve?" And to which Steve understands. Okay, Bill. It was hard for Bill to share share the stuff which he did. And he Steve tells that, okay, it was no, thank you, Bill, and it was very difficult for you and for all of us to share this. And that's how the introduction, that part finishes. And now they are back to uh, discussing about the Phoenix failures. Okay, So now Bill points out some major flaws which they had in the Phoenix project. So okay, so now Steve is trying to like figure out the issues which they had. So the main problem, he thinks that every commitment and every schedule like they make, they never making through it, and people outside of IT are always grumbling that we miss whatever expectations we set, like whatever commitments, whatever estimates, and they're giving, that's not like enough, and they are already overpassing that, which makes him think that that look at the actual metrics, like, and so all the leaders are in the meeting. So when Steve tells about this issue of commitment and the schedule missing and the time slippage, so Chris, who is the development lead, who is handling the development team, he comes up with this idea like his team, and if you see the matrix, like his group has delivered all the projects on time and they have never missed the dates. But to which Wes, who is a support guy, he's not in he's not kind of in agreement with what Chris says, and he's kind of they are having a debate about how things were not correct and how they were not able to complete the Phoenix, and it was a disaster. So Wes is telling Chris that you're not able to complete the time, all the work on time, and so they are trying to define what a completed project is. So as per Chris, the whatever tasks he has in his hand, if that is complete, then the work is complete. But according to Wes, that is not the definition of a completed project. So just if you're doing your work at hand, and if that is not contributing to the success of a project, then that is a complete failure. So now they are having a debate on this definition of completed work, because Chris is telling that he has done his part and he has done everything, but Wes is not in agreement, and Chris is now blaming Wes that your support team is not always having work at hand, and whatever deployments we give, you're not deploying that, and we have to wait for like long time, and due to this the work is getting piled up, and your team is already having a lot of work, and due to this the work is not getting completed and we are not able to do the deployments on time. So Bill comes up with a theory which Eric has already explained him previously, that there were 4 types of work which Eric explained him, like business operations, IT operations, changes, and planned work. And now when they are discussing and debating about these issues which they had due to Phoenix, they're only discussing about unplanned work and the first type of work, that is the business project. We're only talking about half the work done, which is like we have 4 points here which covers the work done, but they're only talking about the business projects and unplanned work. The operations and the changes are not discussed here. And Bill, he talks to Steve and he shows him the project list, where on top of the 35 business projects, we have got another 75 ops projects which they're working on. And we've got a backlog of thousands of changes that apparently all need to execute for some reason or another. And on top of that, we have an ever increasing amount of unplanned work, mostly caused by our fragile application breaking, which includes Phoenix. So they are trying to discuss the issues around Phoenix. So Phoenix is already a failure and they have a lot of work to do there. But despite that, they have like 35 business projects and 75 ops projects. And besides that, they have thousands of other changes which need to be completed. And also they have Phoenix in hand. So now they're trying to figure out how they complete this, all the work together with the Phoenix being a failure. So when they're discussing about this, so Steve realizes, like Bill realizes that John, who is a compliance guy, who is responsible to the security of this, the entire team, so he is not available in the meeting. So and Steve realizes that he has missed to invite John to the meeting, and he asks, he asked someone to look out where John was, and he asked Stacy to track John down, and he asked them to, we can take a 15 minutes break and we can continue once John is back, because this is a IT leadership meeting, and they have leaders from each and every department, but John, who is the compliance guy, is missing. So they take a 15 minutes break, and they when they come back, so when they come back across the same meeting room, so John has joined them now. John is in the meeting, and John is, asking Steve, like, have I missed anything, and have I missed the invite, or like, to which Steve tells him that no, I missed to send you the invite, and my apologies to you, that it was my fault, I didn't include in this meeting. And so Steve briefs him about what they were discussing, and like he tells him that I organized this meeting yesterday at last minute, right after the audit committee meeting, and after recognizing my part in making all the IT problems worse. So he's telling he wanted to assemble all the IT leadership team to see if they could not agree on a general direction of the solution to the issues they have been working around projects, and also operation stability and compliance. So when it comes to compliance, John is kind of skeptical, and he is questioning, like, now Bill is thinking that all the vulnerability exercise which he made these guys to go through the personal stuff, and come up with the issues and the challenges they had. So he has skipped that completely, and now he's just coming directly to the point and telling John about this issues they're discussing about. So okay, so now they are thinking about, so Steve, once John joins them back, Steve tells Bill to continue on the discussion which they were doing about the Phoenix failures and the work at hand. And so Bill continues, like, Bill shares them one insight where it reminded him of something which Eric shared with him last week, when he was stuck, when they met to each other. And when Bill asked Eric, like, on what basis do we decide whether we can accept any new project? Okay, so sorry, Eric asked Bill, like, on what basis do you decide whether we can accept a new project? Bill was not sure what to answer, so he says, no, I don't know. And to which Eric took him to another tour of MRP 8 manufacturing plant. Earlier also, Eric had taken him to this plant where he gave him some insights about how the inventory and the support team is working there to control the inventory. So now again he takes him to the same MRP 8 manufacturing plant, and he introduces, he takes him to Ellie, the manufacturing resource planning coordinator, and asks her how she decides on whether to accept a new order or not. So to which Ellie replies that she would first look at the order and then look at the bill of materials and routings. Based on that, she would look at the loadings of the relevant work centers, and then decide whether to accept that new work, or whether if she accepts it, it would jeopardize any existing commitments. So this is how Ali is deciding on whether to pick up a new job. So now Eric asks Bill, like, how made the decisions, same type of decisions in IT, like when it comes to IT. So this is like something on the plant, manufacturing plant, but when it comes to IT, how you take similar decisions. So then he tells him that I don't know, I'm pretty sure we don't do any sort of analysis of capacity and demand before we accept work. So now again, one more pain point where Bill is telling Eric that they don't do any capacity planning or demand planning before they accept new work, which means we are always scrambling, having to take shortcuts, and which means more fragile applications. So they are accepting work, but not looking at how much time they have, and they're not doing any planning, and they're just accepting work, and which leads to fragile applications in production. Also, due to this, there is more unplanned work which is getting added in future. So Eric interrupts, and he tells Bill that you have just described technical debt that is not being paid down. So now it explains what technical debt is. So it comes from taking shortcuts, like which may make sense in the short term, but like financial debt, the compounding interest cost grows over time. If an organization doesn't pay down its technical debt, every calorie in the organization can be spent just paying interest in the form of unplanned work. So Eric introduces this term technical debt to Bill, that whatever they are doing, which is unplanned work, which is not giving any benefit to the company, and due to this, the company is not able to know, get anything out of this work, because the unplanned work is kind of work which they have due to the failure of some application and due to improper planning and improper analysis. So he introduces Bill to the technical debt, and he tells that it's very expensive. Unplanned work is very expensive because unplanned work comes at the expense of and he stops when you are staying. He stops, and Wes, he interrupts and he says, "Unplanned works comes at the expense of planned work." Yeah, and Eric says, like, yes, that's exactly right. Bill mentioned the four type of works: business projects, IT operations projects, changes, and planned work. Left unchecked, technical debt will ensure that the only work that gets done is unplanned work. So all this time, whatever they were doing was all unplanned. It was not planned properly, and they're picking up ad hoc work, and they're not having this capacity and demand planning, and they were ending up with a lot of unplanned work, which and kind of they were in technical depth. So the company was not gaining anything out of this unplanned work. It was kind of not worth working on. And he further says that unplanned work has another side effect. So when you spend all your time like firefighting, there's little time of energy left for planning. When all you do is react, there's not enough time to do the hard mental work of figuring out whether you can accept new work. So when you're working on this unplanned work in hand, so you're so much occupied that you don't like you don't have time, and you also don't have this mental capacity to accept any new work and do any planning on that. And so more projects are crammed onto the plate with fewer cycles available to each one. So already we have a lot of unplanned work, and when we get the new work, so it's already like a mess, and we have less cycles, which means more multitasking and more escalations from poor code, which means more shortcuts. So around and around, so like kind of they're going into a spiral, and which Eric says it's a IT capacity dead spiral.
Sorry, Surface. Please. I'm just interrupting.
Yes, sir.
Can I drop off? I just have got another call to attend till 5 to 7. So,
Yeah, sure.
but I like one part, that how to trust on team members. That the paragraph, I really liked it, and I personally observed that if you could trust on your teammates, team is going to be a great team.
Yeah.
Interesting point you brought, Prasad, because Patrick Lencioni has written a beautiful book, Five Dysfunctions of a Team. And the first dysfunction starts with lack of trust. So I could relate it back to that book completely.
So thank you, guys. I'll take my chapter next week. Will that fine, Abdul? I think he's on.
I think, yeah, but it should be fine. Pretty much fine.
Yeah, I think we can cover that because already I have like this chapter is like huge. It's almost 15 pages. That's why it's taking some time. Maybe we can cover the chapter.
Thank you, friends. Have a nice week ahead. Bye, Rakesh. Bye, Animesh. Bye-bye, Check.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah, bye. Are we?
Okay, yeah, we'll continue on this. So we were at like Eric telling about the unplanned work and how unplanned work affects the already available work, and like due to which we have poor code, and like we use shortcuts to come up and with the solutions and try to push in poor code into production and eventually fails. So kind of, and they're doing this again and again, and it's kind of a never ending cycle, and he gives it a term IT capacity debt spiral. uh, Bill, now, so when this discussion is happening, Bill asks Steve, like, are we even allowed to say no? So every time I've asked you to prioritize or defer work on project, you have bitten my head off. When everyone is conditioned to believe that no isn't an acceptable answer, we all just become compliant order takers, blindly marching down the doom path. I wonder if this is what happened to my predecessors too. So now Bill is telling Steve that are we like allowed to even say no to something? Because every time Bill used to tell Steve about about the estimations and about the issues they had with Phoenix and timelines. So Bill never used to agree with Steve never used to agree with Bill, and he used to always decline his suggestions. So Bill is telling Steve if we can say no sometime, or we can, because if we're saying no, that we are just taking orders and we are just following a doomed path, which will take us to nowhere. And he's also worried that same will happen to his predecessors. Like Wes and Patty will be, once Bill is done. So now Bill is the current IT head, like he's heading the IT. But now after that, Wes and Patty, they would be in the same position. So he's telling that even same will happen to the my predecessors too. So which Steve says that yeah, of course you can say no, and and he says that, let me be clear, I need you to say no. We cannot afford to have this leadership team to be taking orders. And we pay you to think and not just to do. And he's telling Bill that, yeah, we can say no. We just don't want the team to take orders, and no, because we are paying you to think and not just to do work and just to take orders without thinking and planning. And he says that what's at stake here is the survival of the company. The outcomes of these projects dictate whether the entire company succeeds or fails. So the Phoenix was a failure. So now they are discussing about no, what can be done right to bring other projects and have successful deployments. Eric interrupts in between and he says that when you guys take in new projects, like you're taking on new work that doesn't have a period of succeeding. Why? Because you have no idea what capacity you actually have. You are like the guy who is always writing checks that bounce because you don't know how much money you have and never bother opening your mail. So Eric is telling Steve that you always take work and you don't have when you don't know like what capacity you have and if you're able to even know that you'll be completing that work or not. So just taking blindly accepting work and doing it, and that's not working out for you. And now Eric tells them a story like about what happened at MRP 8 plant was like uh, there were some people like there were poor people who used to get the manila envelopes that would just show up containing all sorts of crazy orders. The business would make absurd commitments to ship. So business was not looking into the capacity and they're not doing planning. So whatever orders the company used to get, they used to make some commitment and they used to try to if even if that's impossible to do the shipment, they used to accept that order and they used to try to do some shortcuts and try to work that out. And they had a and that was nightmare for them. Like every day they had piled inventory piled up to the ceiling, and there was systematic way of getting and there wasn't a systematic way of getting the work in progress, because already they had a lot of work and they accepting orders and which was piling the inventory, and they were not in a position to get this work done on time. So their work in progress was increasing. So Eric tells that same is happening with the IT team, which they're doing work. They're taking a lot of work and they're not completing the given work at hand, and that is like increasing that's piling up the work at the back end, and already have they have work which is going on, and due to which they're not able to have a proper completion of the tasks, and they are taking shortcuts because they are afraid of the workload they have at the back end, and they're trying to complete the work at hand, finish it quickly, and then so that they can move to the already the work which is piled. So they're not completing, they're not taking complete responsibility of this work, and which is causing the failure. And one more factor, one more point which comes here is the due date performance. So Eric tells about this due date performance. So as they are taking a lot of work and as they're not completing the unplanned work at hand, so if so Eric asks Steve, like, what happens if if you have already have work at hand, and if you're taking new work, so what will happen to the existing work? So to which Steve says that Steve agrees that they will not complete the existing work at hand, and which will not the old already the work which is piled up, that also will not complete. So they will not meet the date which they've already estimated. That is what causing the problems to the team. So now, once they have these discussions, and also Bill comes up with one solution at the end of this chapter, that he now tells Steve that they can plan something where they can have all the unplanned work which is coming in, everything they have to freeze for the moment, and they have to only work on the Phoenix project, and whatever comes as unplanned, they should stop taking that, and they should freeze everything, and all the team, everyone should work on Phoenix success of Phoenix project. So the leaders who are in the meeting, they're kind of not in agreement with Bill's idea of freezing everything and only working on the Phoenix project. So they're not ready, but then eventually they agree to Bill's approach that everything should be freezed. There should be no other work happening in the company except for the Phoenix. And to which Bill tells Steve that if you can drop an email and you can tell everyone that you should not take any unplanned work, anything which is coming, any ad hoc work, and you can directly work on the Phoenix project. So now here they come up with a solution where they're thinking it might work. Bill suggests this, that if they just kind of work on the Phoenix and they kind of put other things on hold, they might be able to have a successful deployment for Phoenix. So in this chapter ends where Steve tells that he will drop an email to the team about that they should not work on any unplanned work, and they should only focus on Phoenix. That ends chapter 19. Now, so maybe in upcoming chapters we'll see what happens when they start working on the Phoenix, and maybe that will work as planned and they'll be able to complete the Phoenix project successfully. Yeah, that's all for chapter 19.
Thanks, Sarfraz, for diving into detail. It's too much long chapter. I think one of the longest chapter till
Yeah,
now.
I think one of the longest chapters.
Yeah.
So, anything we want to discuss further on this chapter? Or any other thing related?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think just takeaways from the chapter. So one was, like we discussed, trust between teams to have an efficient and a good team collaboration and for the success of the project. Second, there was like the due performance where we have to kind of restrict ourselves, and we should say no at some point in time, so that if we keep on taking work, so what will happen is the work at hand, we'll try to complete that using shortcuts, and because we already know that we have a lot of work, and we uh, kind of look to getting into shortcuts and pushing poor code, it will result into failures. So some quick takeaways from the from this 2 chapters which I read.
Sure.
Yep, I agree with that. So we have remaining 4 minutes. I want to share something. Okay, it is related to the feedback and other things. So shall we stop the recording? Because
Yeah.
for that one.
I'll stop the recording. Yes.